Anyway, Oprah has been knocking on their front door for a while wanting an interview. Apparently, she was hounding them way back at Kensington Palace when she stopped by to say their house was atrocious. But they just couldn't seem to nail down a date, right? But they've been in America for a whole year, a whole hellacious year, may they add. And Oprah really wants to get in on some of this drama while she still can. So she finally gets them to settle on a date with her, and they decide to sit down and really have a weepathon. They felt that the year that they had been dealing with was a real beating, and who better to talk to them about their oppression than the queen of oppression herself, Oprah. So right before the interview comes out, the bullying accusations regarding Meghan came out. So everyone knows an Oprah interview is impending and that it's been filmed and that it's going to be released. The palace knows this as well. And so some people have said that they took that opportunity to slip out into the public. Oh, by the way, she's a massive bully. And everybody hated her and was happy to see her leave. Meghan comes out and says, as a survivor of abuse and bullying myself, this was really hard for me to hear that anybody would think that I would bully them, because I have been bullied and I know what it is to be bullied. And it was hard to hear that people would say that about me, because they know it's not true. But it was obvious that the reason they were doing that is because they were so scared of the things that I was going to say about them in the Oprah interview that they had to strike back. Hurt people hurt people. And that's what they were doing. And another one of her friends comes out and is like, it was obvious that there were some people at the palace who were just really scared of Meghan and the power that she has. I'm sure nobody was. I think they were just trying to be like, hey, by the way, don't believe anything she says because she's a liar and a manipulator. But Harry wants to let you know that when you speak truth to power, this is the consequence. Sometimes they can't take it. I love how he speaks in these little phrases. We were just trying to speak truth to power. Like, did somebody just slide that slogan over to him and give him that to keep in his pocket for just such an occasion? Because it's like, how about you don't speak in cliches? Do you have any words in your head of your own, or do you just wait for Meghan and her cronies to let you know? He used it as though this was a new phrase that he had just heard and was eager to use it. Anyway, well, they're telling us about the Oprah interview. They show footage of them watching the interview that night, and it is weird footage. They're sitting in their living room watching the interview, and Harry literally has his hand over Meghan's face like this, over her eyes while they're watching. And then she slowly takes his hand down from her eyes, and he puts his hand back around behind her shoulders and it's rubbing her shoulders and stuff. And I'm like, is this your version of protecting your woman? You guys are watching TV and you cover her eyes like a parent who just accidentally forgot about the sex scene in this movie they wanted to show their kids? What am I witnessing here? Why do you, as a grown-ass man, her husband no less, have your hands over her eyes like she's a child that can't handle what's on TV? Okay. The tragedy of the whole thing was that here she'd been so vulnerable about her suicidal ideation and about how the royal family could not bestir themselves to get her any mental health support, and they totally ignored her pleas. They didn't even care about that. All they cared was that there was some talk about race a little bit. And there were some accusations. But they didn't go into it. Harry said he'd never tell anybody about that conversation. So why did they want to make such a big stink about it? I'm sorry, Meghan. Nobody cares about your fake claims to suicidal ideation when you are openly calling members of the royal family, the senior members of the royal family, racist. And, did we overreact to the Oprah interview on the race claims? Yes, but they also said that at a time when everything was about race. Remember, we were coming off the back of the George Floyd thing. People were rioting in the streets. Cities were being burned down over race. No family has ever had the conversation about what will the baby look like. Even two white people who have a kid. And one, my husband and I are both white, but he's got blonde hair, blue eyes, and I've got dark hair and dark eyes. Brown hair, brown eyes, blonde hair, blue eyes. What are the kids going to look like? Well, they all look like him. You wouldn't even know I birthed them. But the thing is that everybody has that conversation. How much more so are you going to have that conversation when you have a biracial wife and a redheaded husband? Okay, you're going to have a conversation about what that kid's going to look like. and all in a spirit of excitement about the birth of the baby. So did we as a nation fall down on the job of handling some information about a conversation? Yes, we all were like wringing our hands. Is it racist? Is it racist? I think it was racist. It wasn't. But just because Oprah wanted to say something with emotion, but no real feeling behind it, everyone caught the feeling that something had happened that they couldn't understand because their skin was too white to understand. I'm just so white, I can't understand the racism that just happened. But Oprah's black, so she must know about something. She must have heard something with her black ears that I, as a white person, can't hear. And we all bought into it because she decided to sit up and ask slowly, "They asked what color your baby would be?" And she was wearing glasses, so that makes her smarter than you. Then we're going to be talking about the next day. What was the reaction to the Oprah interview? Which, by the way, has practically been scrubbed from anything. I don't think you can even find that interview anymore. But we get lots and lots of shots of Meghan sitting in front of her computer with her phone. She's basically just waiting, inundated with all of this feedback from the interview. Beyonce texts her. Harry's sitting right there. He's got his laptop open. Both of them are monitoring what's going on in the world. God forbid they've got a couple of kids over there that might need them, and they've got their phones by them. She calls her mom. "Mom, is it quiet over there? Are you being swamped by paparazzi?" And her mom's like, "No, actually, it's fine." And Meghan's like, "Oh, well, I'm glad." She's super disappointed. And her mom's like, "I'm so proud of you, and I'm getting a lot of messages from people who are so proud of you, and don't let anybody bother you. Just put on your big girl panties and don't care." And Meghan's like, "Yeah, the biggest, Mom." And then, Beyonce texts her, and Harry's like, "Why don't you call him back? Beyonce, oh my gosh, call Beyonce back." And Meghan's like, "No, that's okay. She just wanted to let me know that I've been chosen by the universe to break generational curses." And Harry's like, "Well, that was well worded." Tyler Perry weighs in on the whole thing, and it's like, there's a lot more she could have said, but she's just such a classy and elegant woman, she refrained. See, an elegant woman probably would have answered your very lovely wedding message with a message of her own instead of waiting years to call you in a crisis and then ask for your house.